We all know that incidents are stressful and chaotic and that they get in the way of your work and your life. You do your best to avoid them, but they're a fact of life given how we develop, deploy, and operate systems today. So how do you resolve them as quickly and efficiently as possible? My name is Brent Chapman, and I lead our incident response program at Slack. Today, I'm also happy to be sharing this session with Andrew Marshall from PagerDuty, who will talk about how Slack and PagerDuty work together to enable modern incident management, as well as Mark Villanova from Netflix, who will talk about Dispatch, their open source incident management tool that works with Slack. A little bit about myself. I've worked in Silicon Valley for my whole career in everything from startups to giant enterprises such as Xerox PARC and Google as a sysadmin, network engineer, network architect, site reliability engineer, SRE manager, and so forth. I also have my own consulting firm. I've written some widely used open source software, and I've co-authored one of the O'Reilly books. But on the side, I've always done volunteer work in emergency services. I started off as a search and rescue pilot and incident commander with Civil Air Patrol, and I've been both a member and instructor with community emergency response teams in a variety of different cities. For the past 10 years or so, though, most of my volunteer work has been with the Black Rock City Emergency Services Department, where I'm a dispatch supervisor and occasionally a battalion chief. Black Rock City is Burning Man. Every year, we create a temporary city of 75,000 people in the middle of a desert, in the middle of a dry lake bed, 100 miles from the nearest major city. The Emergency Service Department provides fire, medical, and mental health services for Black Rock City. We handle just about as many calls for service every year as any other 75,000 person city in Nevada does. We just do all of ours within a 2-week period. Let's start by talking about incident response and the timeline of a typical incident. Basically, something happens, we detect that it happens, we raise an alert about that happening, we respond to that alert. Sometime after that, we mitigate the problem, meaning we make it go away from the user's point of view. And then after that, we repair the problem, meaning, we're back to some normal state of operations. Now, from the customer's perspective, the incident runs from time of occurrence, if they're one of the affected customers, all the way through to time of mitigation. But from the company's perspective, the incident doesn't really begin until we get that first alert about it. Until we get that alert, we're not doing anything differently than we otherwise would. We're reading code, writing code, sitting in meetings, at home with our families, asleep in bed, whatever. Until that alert comes in, we're not doing anything that we wouldn't otherwise be doing. So there's this mismatch in perception between, when the incident starts from the customer's point of view versus the company's point of view. There's also a mismatch on the back end. From the customer's point of view, again, the incident is over when the problem has been mitigated. But from the company's point of view, we may still be treating that incident as an emergency at that point, and it's not over until we've repaired and gotten the system back to some normal state of operation. Now, these first few phases, monitoring and alerting, occurrence detection, alerting, and response, that's where our monitoring and alerting systems operate. Those are systems like Grafana and PagerDuty, which we're here to talk about today, right? Those are all very important systems, but they're not what I focus on. What I focus on is what happens from the time we start responding to an incident, right? From the time that first PagerDuty page goes out until we have repaired and returned the system to some normal operation. That's the incident response phase. And the reason that phase is so important is because if we do it well, we can pull in those mitigation and repair times. We can shorten the incident and reduce the impact of the incident on ourselves and on our customers. Now, on our customers, that's obviously to the good, but reducing the impact of the incident on ourselves, our company, as well as ourselves as individuals is also very important. As I said, as we all know, incidents are stressful. They are chaotic. They are disruptive. They take you away from whatever you had otherwise planned on doing, right? They're just bad news all the way around. They're inevitable. They're going to happen. We need to be prepared for them to happen, but we need to be prepared to deal with them as quickly and effectively and efficiently as possible. And that's what, a well-planned incident response program can help you do. Responding effectively to incidents requires close coordination of efforts. You cannot make the best decisions if people within your organization are not communicating well or are pulling in different directions. This has been made even more challenging by the sudden shift to remote work that the pandemic has forced on to many of our organizations. So, what are some of the tips and best practices that you can take back to your team? Well, first, think about your approach to channels. It's important to think about your approach to channels. It's basically consider using a consistent and simple naming convention for your channels. Something that people can use to easily find incident channels, okay? This makes it easy for them to use this quick switcher within Slack to find things. Using a separate channel per incident also has the benefit of collecting the full history of that incident in one channel. That has two positive benefits. First, it helps new responders that are joining the incident in progress come up to speed quickly without disrupting the response that's already underway. Okay, I'm sure we've all had the experience of being on incident response phone bridges where you're in the middle of some sort of troubleshooting and beep, beep, somebody joins the call. Okay, who just joined? Oh, okay, Joe from databases. Let me bring you up to speed on what's going on, right? And you completely derail the troubleshooting work that was going on while you bring this new responder up to speed so that they can help too. And just when you get them just about up to speed and you're ready to get back to your troubleshooting, somebody else joins and then somebody else joins. And it's very interrupt driven, very inefficient. But if you've got all of that information captured in a Slack channel that those people can access as they join the incident response, they can brief themselves without disrupting the ongoing work. And if they have some questions after they've briefed themselves, they can ask them and they can get answers to them and they can, start being an effective part of the response, again, without disrupting the work that's already underway. The second big advantage to having a separate incident channel per incident is that it gathers all of the details of that incident into one place for the incident review afterwards, right? It means that you've got your discussions and your dashboards and the graphs and the screenshots and the decisions that were made and the timing of all of those decisions. You've got all of that in one place, in one channel that you can go back and refer to when you are reviewing the incident after the fact. Another tip. Use bots to help your teams work more efficiently. Bots and automated processes can drive efficiencies in incident response. Simple bots can help you do things faster and more consistently, and that's especially valuable in the chaos of an incident. Bots can do things like create new channels for incidents, share them across multiple workspaces, post start of incident quick reference information in the channel, post announcements about the incident to a centralized channel that people can follow, invite preset groups of users to the incident channel. If you've got some set of people that you think wants to be involved in every incident or wants to be aware of them, right? Set them up in a group and invite that group to every incident channel. Set the channel topic to reflect, what the nature of the incident is, what the severity level is, who the incident commander is. Integrate with other tools that you may have and use, such as PagerDuty and Jira, right? All of this is possible through the Slack APIs and through some fairly simple code. Later in this session, Mark Villanova from Netflix will be telling us about Dispatch, which is Netflix's open source bot for incident management. Or you can write your own using the Slack APIs to implement your own processes and integrate with your own tool set. Next tip. Consider creating a standby channel to help you get ready for the next incident. You may want to capture preliminary discussions that often take place, such as, hey, does things seem a little slow right now? Is this an incident? What are we seeing here? What are customers experiencing? Oftentimes, those discussions are very, very valuable to capture. And if you have a ready place for those discussions to take place, an incident channel in waiting, great, you got an obvious place to have those discussions, okay? And that helps you, again, when you do decide that it's an incident, which you almost always will, if you're asking the question, hey, is this an incident? The answer is almost always, yeah, it's an incident. So great, you've got all those there, and you've got them for your incident review after the fact. Another tip, use additional channels in parallel for particularly complex responses. One of the big challenges in an incident is managing the flow of information. So some teams will use channels to move quickly and maintain visibility without getting overwhelmed. For instance, you may have a main incident channel for a particular incident, but you may need to have a policy discussion with your executive team. So you can set up a parallel channel for that policy discussion. It can be a private channel if that's appropriate, that if it's information that doesn't need to be shared with everyone and so forth. Messages can be then shared between those channels as needed to keep everybody in sync. Finally, some other tips and tricks to help your teams thrive during incidents. Consider using the channel topic to tell you what the current state of the incident is. Who's the incident commander? What's the severity level? Is this incident active or under control or paused? Whatever. Use pinned posts for periodic status and planning updates. Responders joining a channel can be taught that, hey, the first thing you should do when you join an incident channel is look at the most recent pinned posts in that channel, because they will have the most recent status information for you to be aware of before you start trying to contribute to the incident. Use threads for deep dives into particular topics within the channel. Threads are a very, very powerful feature within Slack, very, very useful. The one thing you have to remind people of is whatever key discoveries or key decisions get made within the threads need to be shared back to the main channel, right? If you have that practice, if everybody, is consistent about following that practice, then that means deep discussions can take place during threads, and nobody has to read every thread, and everybody can still be confident that they're getting the key information because the key information has been shared back to the main channel. Another very powerful feature of Slack are the emojis, right? They look kind of cute and fuzzy and cuddly and so forth, but they're actually really powerful tools for lightweight process work. So we use emojis to indicate various things by convention. So for example, we use the little red helmet with the white cross on it to indicate, as a status emoji, to indicate who the incident commander for a particular incident is. So whenever that incident commander posts in the incident channel, you'll see that little red helmet with the white cross next to their name and know, okay, yeah, this is the person who's the boss at the moment. So, I got to pay extra special attention to what they're saying. Other ways that we use them are as reactions to particular message, kind of as a lightweight, polling system or voting system on particular messages. So, for example, we use the eyes emoji to mean I'm looking at this, right? So if somebody makes a request or asks, hey, can somebody go check whatever, hit it with the eyes emoji. Now, that way we know somebody's looking at it. Similarly, when something has been completed, we use the little green check mark emoji on that message to say, yep, that's done, move on. One that's somewhat unique to incidents is the post box, the way we use the post box emoji. We use the post box emoji as a reaction on messages that we want to follow up in the post-incident review. After the incident, right? A lot of times during incidents, you stumble across something and think, oh, yeah, that's interesting. I don't have time to dig into it right now, but I want to come back to it later. Or you have an idea for a better tool or a change to process or whatever. And you don't want to, sidetrack yourself onto it during the incident, but you don't want to forget about it either. So that's just like, let's hit that one with that postbox emoji and let's come back and review all of those after the incident. Lots of other emojis to indicate agreement, doubt, all sorts of stuff. Very powerful capability. And now let me introduce Andrew Marshall from PagerDuty.
Thanks, Brent. So for those of you who are relatively new to PagerDuty, we're the real-time operations platform that helps teams reduce their downtime and have fewer incidents. Last year, right here at Slack Frontiers, PagerDuty launched our Slack integration. And this was a major milestone for us because for many teams, Slack is where work happens. Our integration connects Slack's hub for communication with PagerDuty's digital operation platform. And the resulting combination powers real-time ops for modern businesses across the world. And it's been very exciting to watch how our shared solution has really grown over the last year and a half. Traditional incident management has always been more of a command and control model. So decisions are made at the top and then they trickle down. Modern incident response requires more of a swarm approach. So in this model, we're actually connecting each team member as needed. And this makes real-time communication, including getting the right information to the right responders, absolutely critical. And what we're doing is we're arming the right people with the right information at the right time. During this incident response phase, the right team members need to communicate in real time. They also need to react to evolving issues by doing things like reassigning or escalating an incident or adding additional responders. And to help with this, PagerDuty integrates with over 350 tools to ingest and contextualize signals. Slack then connects PagerDuty incident context to the right team members so they can actually solve issues a lot faster. And what we're essentially doing is we are making Slack a third interface for PagerDuty. So we have our desktop and mobile experience, and then now Slack. And this is obviously huge for teams that basically live in Slack because you can drive PagerDuty actions directly through the Slack UI without wasting time toggling between apps. From Slack, you can do everything from creating or escalating an incident to even running a full response play. So this lets teams tackle issues directly from the Slack UI. And when you get a Slack notification for a PagerDuty incident, you can take action on it. And you can even do things like add responders if that's what the incident calls for. And then finally, sometimes you're the one who notices something's wrong. And for PagerDuty, for Slack, you're allowed to trigger a new incident directly from that Slack interface. And one feature that we're absolutely sure to include in our PagerDuty for Slack integration is the ability to view on-call scheduling directly from Slack. And if you haven't used this, this might not seem like a huge deal, but it's literally one of those features that customers come up and thank us for. We also work with a number of customers who have what I would describe as a hybrid ops environment. So PagerDuty for Slack forms the connective tissue between these disparate teams, no matter where they are on the ops spectrum. There's also a lot you can do from PagerDuty. You can spin up a new Slack channel directly from PagerDuty. And this is really helpful when you're dealing with an incident that requires some real-time collaboration, like you heard about earlier in this presentation. Here's an example flow of how teams use PagerDuty for Slack and how they can use it to manage major incidents in the most efficient way. So during peacetime, PagerDuty is helping the team to make decisions quickly, while Slack is used for collaboration, bringing people, application, and data together. But sometimes PagerDuty detects a major incident, and when that happens, the team is notified in Slack where they can work on the resolution. Other stakeholders like your sales managers, customer service, or executives are all informed about the status of the resolution directly in Slack without creating any disruption. And then finally, once the incident has been resolved, all the important information isn't lost. It can be pulled from Slack to complete a comprehensive postmortem report in PagerDuty. So to wrap it up, using Slack and PagerDuty together, the response team can fulfill three major objectives. One, enabling efficient communication and collaboration. Two, accelerating the rapid resolution of an incident. And three, improving the overall resolution process. And with that, I'd like to turn back over to Brent.
Thank you, Andrew. Now, let me introduce Mark Villanova from Netflix, who's here to tell you about how Netflix manages incidents using Dispatch, which is a bot for Slack that they've built and open sourced.
Thanks, Brent, for the introduction and the Slack team for the opportunity. My name is Mark Villanova, and I'm a senior security engineer on the security incident response team at Netflix. At Netflix, I primarily focus on helping drive security incidents to resolution and design and develop programmatic solutions for crisis management and digital forensics. I'm here today to talk about Dispatch, our incident management automation framework. In the next 10 minutes or so, I'm going to give you an overview of what Dispatch is, the goals that we set when we decided to build it, and some of the features that we built leveraging Slack apps and APIs. So what is Dispatch? Dispatch is an app that helps you effectively manage security incidents by deeply integrating with existing tools used throughout your organization. The last part is particularly important as we want to keep the learning curve for incident participants as flat as possible. There is no worse time to learn how to use a new tool or product than during an incident. So what are the goals that we set? One of the most time-consuming parts of managing an incident is actually engaging the right people and getting them oriented, making sure that they understand what's going on, what's the risk or impact to the company, and what we have done so far. We're also always trying to find ways to reduce the cognitive load on our incident participants. Providing easy and intuitive ways to manage their incident allow them to focus on resolving it. We also want incident participants to get familiarized with the process, and providing them with a consistent experience allows us to achieve that. And also, we want to collect as much information as possible about the incident so we can derive learnings back to the organization. So let's talk about the Slack integration we built in Dispatch. Dispatch has a plugin-based architecture and ships with a plugin for Slack. At Netflix, we use Slack for real-time communications and to manage all aspects of an incident. Let's take a look at some of the features that come with the Slack plugin that we built. So incident reports, we wanted to make it as easy as possible for employees to report security incidents directly from Slack. So we built a / command that opens a reporting form. The only required information are the title and the description. The less friction, the better, as we want employees to report incidents as quickly as possible. The number of members on an incident channel can grow very quickly, and sometimes it is difficult to keep track of who's in the channel. Dispatch tries to address this issue by announcing participants as they join. We include their name, team location, and role they play in the incident. We decided to not include their title in order to avoid power differential issues during decision making. When participants join a channel, we send them a welcome ephemeral message with incident information and links to all the resources that Dispatch has created. This frees the incident commander and other participants from having to provide context to them and allows the participants to start contributing right away. Participants can use another / command to receive a message with a list of resources if the original welcome message has already disappeared. Using another / command, we enable the incident commander to hand off the incident or assign roles to other participants. Dispatch adds the participants to the channel if they are not already members, and then assigns them the role. Once a role change has been completed, Dispatch notifies everyone in the channel. Through another / command, we also provide an easy way for the incident commander and participants to engage and page team on calls. The list of team on calls needs to be defined in the Dispatch web UI in advance, and PagerDuty is one of the paging services that we support. Keeping everyone informed of the current conditions, actions, and needs of the incident is very important at all times. Using / commands, Dispatch provides an easy way for the incident commander or scribe to write and share tactical and executive reports with the right audience. Last but not least, we also provide a way for the incident commander to make changes to the incident metadata and manage its life cycle from the channel itself. So we are nearing the end of the presentation. Here are some key takeaways for you. Dispatch will allow you to reduce the mean time to assemble, or in other words, getting everyone engaged and oriented down to a few minutes. Dispatch will also allow you to reduce the mean time to stable because the incident commander and participants have to spend less time doing things that don't matter. Dispatch will help you provide a consistent customer experience, which helps incident participants get familiarized with your process, which directly translates into a more rapid response over time. Dispatch will enable your incident commanders to manage the incident lifecycle from the channel itself, which means that they won't have to go to any other tools. They can participate in the incident and manage it directly from the channel. And last, Dispatch collects metrics and metadata throughout the incident for you, so you can use them for reporting purposes and future decision making. We open sourced Dispatch earlier this year. You can find it on GitHub under the Netflix organization. Try it out and let us know what you think. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark and Andrew, for joining me here today, and thank you all for being here.